Hello everyone, my name is LaurieTLC and today I'm going to be talking about the latest update to Wizards Unite, specifically the implications for the family and challenge registries and how the new system works with prestiging and carrying over fragments. I know part of this guide will be too late for some people, as many would have already prestiged and placed all foundables that they could, and a lot of people lost their own fragments because they didn't carry over as they should have. Why the developers made the adjustment before the update released is mind-boggling, and I hope we get answers soon, especially about what they can or will do to compensate the players who lost out the most. In the meantime, I hope this guide answers any questions you still have. If it doesn't, or you'd like more detail on something, please leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer. So update 2.13.0 does three things that affect the registry. It introduces repeat image collection, so players can now continue to collect fragments of foundables and repeatedly place their image for bonus family XP. The foundable fragment counts have been changed to standardise them across all pages, so we now need more of the low and medium foundables and less high, severe and emergency foundables on each page. The numbers for the Fortress foundables apply to both the family and the challenge registries. There's been an increase in the amount of severe and emergency traces on the map. Some people haven't seen these increases, but personally I've had quite a lot in the last couple of days. The most plausible reason for these changes that I can think of is to allow us to complete all registry pages faster in preparation for adding more pages to the registry. The update also enables us to earn spell books, red or brown books as some people call them, and that leads me to believe that new lessons are on their way soon, or at least we all hope so. For more speculation and reactions on this update, look out for an episode of Departure Denied, our Wizards Unite podcast, which will be out in the next few days. In this video, I will talk about and show you examples of how to prestige a page and ensure you carry any excess fragments over, how not to lose excess fragments when you obtain another fragment of that foundable, and how the repeat image collection works, what you get from it, and when it's best to use fragments to place an image or to save them to carry on to the next page.
Please note this guide was recorded before becoming aware of comments that Phases had made on Discord on the 9th of May at around 2 AM BST. She said that acquiring a new fragment does not set the rollover to 0. It will just get tagged onto your current fragment count. She discussed this with a player as this was not their experience. Phases said that if a foundable showed as 24 out of 15 in the encounter, it should tell you that in the registry page. She also said that she understood the expected behaviour to let you get to 25 of 15 if you caught another foundable, which means she expected us to be able to accrue an infinite number of fragments above the maximum needed to place the image. Phases said she would send in a bug report. At around 8 PM on the 11th of May, a screenshot of another conversation was posted on the Harry Potter Woo subreddit, where Phases again said that additional fragments should keep accruing, and a current sorting hat at 11 out of 5 fragments should go to 12 of 5 fragments if another is obtained. However, Phases said that QA didn't appear to have received her earlier bug report on this. It's now the 12th of May as a recording of this audio, and we've still had no official update on this, and we have no idea if this will actually be changed going forward. It wasn't added to the known issues list posted after being told it was safe to prestige, so they haven't warned players that this is an issue. For now, everything in this guide applies as we still can't see the excess fragments in the registry and we can still lose that excess. If there is a change, the only difference will be in the future, we will be able to accrue more than the maximum fragment count on a frame, and we won't lose any excess fragments we have by obtaining a new fragment. And so the guide continues.
So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to prestige and carry over excess fragments. So if a foundable has a green star next to it, it means you've already placed the image for that foundable on the frame that you're on. Okay, if these foundables show at the maximum number again, for example, like my Tom Riddle has 5 out of 5, and it also has a star. So you can choose to place that image again and cash in the fragments for bonus family XP, which enables you to learn more runestones and scrolls, or you can choose to carry these over for after prestiging again. However, if you previously had more than 5 Tom Riddle on this page, the extra fragments are still counted in the background. For example, I previously had 14 out of 14 Tom Riddle on this page, and I had placed that image, and all 14 fragments are still there, even though the count now shows as 5 out of 5. It shows at 5 out of 5 because it can't display more than the maximum fragments needed for each foundable, and that is now 5 on this page, but the game accounts for the other 9, and they're hidden in the background. It would be good if you can remember how many fragments you had previously to know if there are any hidden, but you should have some kind of idea of whether or not you are close to getting the full amount. To prestige the page and carry over all of your extra fragments, you need to do the following. Every image that you had previously placed will still be placed with a green star to indicate that it's complete. To prestige, you need to place any image that doesn't have a green star next to it. Foundables won't bounce anymore when you can place them. Instead, they have a shimmer. The only time you'll see a bouncing foundable now is if it's the very first time you've ever placed that foundable. Okay, so don't touch anything that has a green star and max fragments, or you will place that image again and use up fragments. There's no warning, it just does it. So try to avoid clicking on them. Don't even look at them if you want to see how many you've ever seen. You can see me placing graves here. I previously had 31 of 33 graves on this page, so I now have 21 fragments left after I've just used 10 to place it on the bronze frame. However, my grave shows a 0 out of 10 after placing it, but I know those 21 fragments are still left. So to refresh the fragment count, you can exit the registry. You don't have to go all the way back to the map as I have here, you can just go back to the luggage. And then you go back in and it refreshes. And on graves it's showing that it's 10 out of 10 because, again, it can't show more than the maximum number, but I do still have those 21. So now all of your foundables have a green star, you can prestige the page. But before I go on to prestige the page again, I just want to show you what happens if you didn't refresh the page between placing the image and before prestiging. So on the Yule Ball page, I lost 5 Hermione and Crumb fragments, as I was on 15 out of 18 previously, and so I should have 5 fragments that carried over after using the 10 to place the image. There was a fix to make the fragment counts refresh on their own and to stop this from happening, but you can't see that it's refreshed until after you prestiged. So for instance, on the Hermione and Crumb there, I prestiged straight away without refreshing, took it over to the next page, and I have 0. Whereas on the wand page, I placed each wand for the first time, and then I went from the standard frame all the way up to gold. The fix that they put out did work for me by the time I got around to prestige in some of my challenge pages, and I could place the images, then prestige, without having to go out to the registry and back in and have all my fragments carry over. I did this for my wands pages, for instance, on the challenge registry, and I went from the standard frame to completed gold by placing and prestiging straight away. As you can see, I place them, they show up as 0 again, I prestige straight away, and I've now got 14 on the bronze page. So they are there, but you won't see that. So this fix is not working for everybody. To make sure that you don't lose the fragments, I would suggest that you manually refresh the page by leaving the registry and coming back in, just to make sure that those fragments are there. Okay, so back to the Fallen Ministry Atrium. After prestiging to silver, you will need to place all of the images on the page that you can. Then you need to decide what to do if you still have any foundables left over, and that's enough to place the image again. You can place the image again for the family XP, or you can save the fragments for the next page when you prestige. I decided to save mine to prestige to gold, as I only needed the Fortress Foundables. I placed all the images that I could and refreshed the registry, then did some Fortress challenges to get the Magic is Might statues and Tom Riddle Sr.'s gravestones. I got all the fragments that I needed, and here you can see me placing the Magic is Might statue and then prestiging to gold with all my excess fragments carrying over. I didn't need to refresh between placing that Magic is Might statue and prestiging because I didn't have any excess fragments left over. So here I have made use of all of my 31 Graves fragments because I needed to place him on bronze, which took off 10, then 13 for silver, and 8 is carried over. For the 14 Tom Riddles, I used 7 to place him on silver, and here I've carried over 7 to gold. So for anyone who had recently prestiged this page, they would actually have fewer fragments than I did, because they wouldn't have as many excess fragments to carry over. So I was very close to placing my graves, and if I had done that, I would have prestiged, and then I wouldn't have had those 33 to get me over to gold. I would have been on silver at the start of the page. We will talk more about this on an episode of Departure Denied, where we can go more in depth about how that makes some people feel. Okay, now I'm going to explain what would have happened to all of my Graves fragments if I had got another fragment before using up all 31 that I had carried over. The example that I'm going to show you now is my snitch on the gold page. I had previously placed it at 43 of 43 fragments, and you can see that my snitch shows 43 out of 30. So I catch another snitch, and you can see that it now resets it to 30 out of 30. When I placed the image again, I was on 0, not 13, even after refreshing. So those 13 fragments didn't get carried forward. I tested this a few times with different foundables, including Fortress foundables, both in the Family Registry and Challenge Registry. I haven't tested it with Portkey foundables, but I'd guess it would be the same. Every time I obtained an extra fragment, only the max count of the fragments remained and the background excess were lost. So, for instance, where I had 43 snitches previously, the max on that page is now 30. So me catching another snitch meant that the excess 13 over the maximum that I can now have on that page were lost. And I think this is because the system usually stops counting at the max that you've got. So it would never have counted 31 if I had caught all those previously rather than carried them over. So by getting one more, it reset me back to the max that I could only get on that page. And this will only happen until you use all of your excess background fragments. Once you've used them for the first time in either prestiging or placing images, this problem should never happen again. Okay, so for my Pavati, I knew I had 52 fragments because I had 52 out of 52 before the update. The page can only show 30 out of 30 because that's the new max fragments needed, and the other 22 are still there in the background. I've chosen to place her again and cash her in for extra family XP, so then I went back to 22 out of 30. So I had to leave the registry, come back in, and that refreshed. So now I will repeatedly place her to earn bonus family XP. Why should we repeatedly place these images? It allows us to benefit from every family and challenge foundable that we get from now on. So we weren't supposed to be able to place any of the Brilliant Registry again, but for now we actually can. So if you haven't done it yet, go do it now because it's worth it. It's 1,000 Wizard XP per image that you place. So if you don't care that the fragments will always show 0 unless they do a fix for this, go place them and earn the XP. I earned 172,000 XP, and that's before repeatedly placing the Fortress foundables using all the Brilliant runestones I also earned from ranking up. So it's quite easy to decide what to do on a gold registry page because you have nowhere to carry any fragments over to. Unless you like seeing all foundables at the max numbers, you can cash in the fragments and keep earning extra family XP to earn more runestones and scrolls. And on the challenge registry pages, you can keep earning challenge XP to obtain those spell books that we all need to be able to progress in our lessons, whether that's lessons you haven't finished yet or new lessons that will hopefully come out in the next few months, if not sooner. The family XP rewarded depends on the threat level and frame you are on, as shown in the images. The reward section will tell you how much family XP you will get for placing that image again. So for instance, on Mona Myrtle, who is a high foundable, if I was to place her again on the silver page, I would get 125 family XP. This would earn me a runestone, and then I could keep catching her and building up more fragments, either to carry over when I prestige, or to replace her again and earn that extra family XP. However, everyone must now decide what to do when they reach the maximum fragments of a foundable on every frame. So do you cash them in, or do you leave them at the maximum to carry over? Personally, I won't place Severes and Emergencies again until I am gold, unless I have excess fragments to use, and I can't prestige soon, so I'm in danger of losing those fragments. The consequences if you decide not to cash in any that you have over the maximum fragments for instance, like my Graves, my Snitch and my Pavati, is that you risk losing the excess fragments. So your choices are to not get any of a foundable you have excess fragments for again until you can prestige and use those fragments. However, this is a risk unless you are close to prestiging because you can't get that foundable at all. So you can't get it from the wild or from a portkey, or if it's a fortress foundable, you can't get it from the fortress again without losing the excess fragments. So you can decide not to worry about losing the excess fragments and just catch the foundable. So your fragments will be reset to the maximum for the frame you're on, and you can just be happy that you have that amount to carry forward, which you wouldn't have had before anyway. Or you can place the image again on the frame that you're on until all of your fragments are used up, which will gain you that extra family XP and any runestones and scrolls, and then you can keep collecting that foundable until you reach your maximum again and either place it again or then save those to carry over to the next frame. So if you want to save any fragments to carry over to the next frame, don't touch the foundable at all if it has a green star and max fragments. If you do, as I said before, there is no prompt and some of your fragments will be used to place that image again. It would be really good if they could add in a prompt here to make sure that you actually want to place it and not just look at the information that you could normally look at, such as how many you've seen. For any foundables you only have the exact maximum fragments for, you don't risk losing any if you continue getting the fragments, so you can save them for when you prestige. However, you can't accrue more than the maximum. For instance, you can't get 31 out of 30, so if you choose not to place that image, every other one that you get won't count. You will still get some family XP for catching that foundable, but it's lower than if you still needed it by placing the image. So for instance, on the medium foundables, you will get 5 family XP if you still need that fragment, but if you don't, so you're already at the maximum, you'll only get 3 family XP. You also won't earn the bonus family XP that you would have earned if you placed that image again. So for the common, lower, mediums, it's much better to place the image again and earn that bonus family XP, because you'll either get a lot more to carry over before you're able to prestige, or you can finish them quite quickly once you get to the next frame, and usually much earlier than you would be able to get all of those severes and emergency foundables. This new system enables us to always benefit from every fragment of a foundable we get from now on. And even though everyone is now better off, as most people were able to prestige pages they couldn't prestige before, and will now prestige pages faster with the lower fragments needed, some people weren't able to benefit from previous fragments as they lost all of their fragments by prestiging before the bugs were fixed, or by not knowing how to make the most of them. This has left some people feeling disheartened and angry about this update, and that could have been avoided with proper testing and some sort of guide on how this new system works. We were given barely any information on what we were supposed to do and what was supposed to happen, so most of what we have worked out has been trial and error and looking at what other people have done. I don't really like the lower fragments to prestige, but I know a lot of people do, because it means that they can now finally prestige pages that they just weren't even close to before. And I'm sure I'll talk a lot more about this on the next episode of Departure Denied, so I'll leave my reasons for why I'm not quite sure that I like it for then. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to be notified when this episode is out. Thank you for watching. I hope it has answered some of your questions about this update, but again, if you do have any other questions or need clarification on anything, please leave a comment or email me at laurie@expansivedlc.com and I will try my best to answer. I'll also put my email address in the description below. May your foundables never depart and your fortresses always be favourable.